Hey, everybody, welcome. It's me, Legal Vices, and I'm welcoming you to The Last of Us, Season 1, Episode 4, spoiler-filled, unprofessional, unedited, one-take review. This is Episode 4, Please Hold My Hand is the title of this. We've moved on from last week, and this starts out, there's no introduction, there's no back scene. It's straight into the Game of Thrones for Virus's opening. And once that's over, Ellie is playing with around with a gun. You might remember she picked up a gun last time. She would hit it in her backpack. And she's standing there in the mirror. She's getting all taxi driver with the mirror. You talking to me? You talking to me? You click, click, click. She's doing that thing. She pulls the trigger. It clicks. Well, then she loads it up and puts it in her backpack. Foreshadowing. She goes outside and Joel is out there. He's siphoning gas from a car. He talks a little bit about that. And then she starts reading some really bad puns from a book. This is straight out of the video game. I liked it. It came straight out. It's the same jokes that are in the games. They're really bad, but that's the whole point. This is the beginning of the bonding. Everybody that's gone is gone, and now it's Joel and Ellie. They're forced to spend time alone with each other out in the middle of the wilds. So here's the bonding time. And once they finish siphoning the gas, then they get in the truck and they're driving down the road. And there's one of the greatest songs ever, Hank Williams. There's a cassette in it, and that's a great thing. Hank Williams cassette in a car. What could possibly go wrong? Ellie finds there's like a nude dude zine in the back of the car. There's like a male nudie magazine, and all sorts of jokes ensue. Then there's a montage, as I was saying, to one of the greatest songs ever written, Hank Williams, Alone and Forsaken. Excuse me. Yeah, Hank Williams, Alone and Forsaken is an amazing song. It's a great, great old song. Then they continue what they've been doing the past couple of episodes, warning against humans. Again, might be a little bit of foreshadowing. They spent a lot of time talking about being careful of the humans, how they're perfectly safe, how nobody's going to find them. And I guess that just means that people will find them soon. Then Ellie asks Joel about his brother Tommy. We get Tommy's backstory. Desert Storm soldier, joins the army. Joel says he's a joiner. The outbreak happens, and a group of people convince Joel and Tommy to join them and go to Boston. That's where he met Tess, who died recently. And then Tommy meets Marlene and joins the Fireflies. Then there's some sort of falling out, and Tommy leaves the Fireflies. Joel's just being a dick and told Ellie that she's only cargo. She's not like family. And then they come to a roadblock of wrecked cars in a tunnel. And anyone that's ever played Last of Us or any of the zombie survival games knows that a tunnel full of broken down cars is always a bad thing. You know what happens. But so they decided to let's go around the tunnel. They decided to cut through a town and come back on the interstate on the other side of the tunnel. Well, predictably, they get lost inside the city. And then there's a cool scene right out of the game. They get ambushed and they crash the truck into a store. Joel sends Ellie through a hole in the wall to be safe. And then Joel proceeds to take out all the people that are trying to get them one at a time. Joel kills two of the three people. And the third one gets the better of him. It's the old-fashioned movie struggle where the attacker is pushing the rifle against Joel's neck, and Joel's on the ground going, and he's losing the fight. Ellie knows he's losing the fight, but she was told to stay there. She has this internal trauma, this internal dialogue going on, and then finally she decides to go out and help Joel. So she comes out of hiding. She looks at the dude for a second, and then she gut shoots him from the back. Dude starts whining and begging for his life. Yeah, mommy, don't kill me, mommy. Yeah, and Joel takes Ellie's gun and the guy's knife. Joel gives the guy his knife back in some body part, and he stops screaming. Dude's gone. Then Joel and Ellie do game stuff, crawling through buildings, avoiding patrols, going through windows, unlocking doors from the other side. And then they cut back to this new Fedra quarantine zone in Kansas where they're lost. And the group of people are questioning this old man in a container, asking about the people. He doesn't know what happened to them by some woman named Kathleen. So this is apparently the group that took over the Fedra government people. They're like the rebels that have taken over the compound. Apparently Kathleen's brother was beaten to death. And apparently this guy who's a doctor knows where the guy that beat her brother to death is, but the doctor isn't talking. Henry is the guy they're looking for. Henry comes right out of the game. Henry and Sam, they're a father and son team. So she's looking for Henry. And it turns out the dead boy that Joel put the knife into after being gut shot by Ellie is Kathleen's son. So she mobilizes everybody to go find Joel and Ellie, whoever that would. They think they're Fedra agents. And so they say, go searching door to door. Find them. And that's what they start to do. So there's a lot of hiding and waiting for trucks to pass. And then while they're doing this, Joel has this little conversation with Ellie, kind of a heart to heart. And Joel says, he remembers the first time that he hurt someone. And then he apologizes for making Ellie have to hurt the guy. I'm sorry that I got my ass kicked so that you had to come and save me. I'm sorry you had to. And then Ellie starts crying and says, it's not the first time. Joel doesn't ask. He gives her the gun back. Now, again, if you've played the game, you know what the deal was with Ellie's first time when she had to hurt someone. It was a lie. It's tied into how she was bitten. But they're not revealing the secret here yet. So I'm not going to do spoilers of spoilers. We'll do the spoilers when they actually give her complete backstory about her first time hurting somebody and how she got her bite. But Joel gives her the gun back. And then, interestingly, there's a guy, one of these guys, I had to look up who he was because he just looked pretty badass. He's got a big old beard, and he's kind of the rough and tumble guy. It turns out this guy is played by somebody named Perry, but this is the guy that actually plays this badass guy that's part of the hunting party. He voiced Tommy in the Last of Us 2 game. So there's kind of an interesting tie-in. So Kathleen's searching a building, and she finds out there was a kid was living. There was drawing pictures of Superman and whatnot, and apparently she realized that this is Henry and Sam, or at least Henry, who's hanging out there. So she's like, we're on a path. They were here. We need to find Henry, and I don't know if she knows who Sam is yet at this point, but we need to find them. And they walk through a room, and there's this kind of sinkhole looking thing in the floor that's like moving with like monsters underneath it. And the guy's like, oh, dang it. We got all these monsters here inside our compound. What should we do? And Kathleen says, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody yet. So there's a very, very shallow pit full of creatures inside the quarantine zone. And Kathleen doesn't want to tell anybody for some reason. Well, Joel and Ellie, they go for this tall building that's down the street. It's a few doors down. They go to the tall building. They start climbing to the 45th floor because they want to get their bearings on the city, find out where the interstate highway is and how to get back on track. And then Joel asks about Ellie hurting someone for the first time, but Ellie doesn't want to talk about it. So that mystery is going to come a little later. They share a really bad, stupid pun joke. And we learn that Joel can't hear very well out of his right ear. She says, is it because, when you were shot? He said, well, it's probably because of all the shooting I've done. But anyway, he's hard of hearing. And she was worried that maybe someone would sneak up on them. But Joel's putting some broken glass on the floor. So it goes crunch, crunch, crunch. And she's like, well, but you have this hearing problem. What if you don't hear them? And he says, well, don't worry, I'll hear them. Well, clearly we know that means someone's going to sneak up on them and they're not going to hear them. And that's exactly what happens. Someone snuck up on them. And Ellie opens her eyes, and then she's like, Joel! And Joel wakes up and sees a young boy pointing a gun at Ellie. And there we go. That's going to be Sam, Henry's son. So there we are with that. Episode 4 was just a good, straight, platform gaming kind of thing. It was just linear progression through the streets, through buildings, just as you would see in the game. It was a great, start after the Frank and Bill episode last week, which was sort of bucolic and romance love story thing. So now they're back into the world. They're back out with the monsters and the infected. And I thought this was a good episode. There's going to be 9 episodes this season, apparently. And episode 5 is dropping a little bit early because of the Super Bowl coming up. So we should be able to get to episode 5 review over the weekend. I think the series is going great. I actually quite like it. I was horrified at the idea the series was being made. I wanted nothing to do with that. That would really, really, really suck. And I waited until I read some reviews of the first 2 episodes before I even wanted to give it a crack, and I'm glad I did because I'm really liking the series thus far. There's as always, there's some changes to the storyline. There's introduction of some characters. There's the deletion of some characters, but it still feels very, very much like the game, and I quite like it. And we'll see how it goes in episode 5. So until we meet again to talk about episode 5, jump down there, hit the like, hit the subscribe, come and check us on my live streams, and thank you for joining me for The Last of Us, Season 1, Episode 4 of our spoiler-filled, unprofessional, unedited, one-take reviews. Like, subscribe, hit that super thanks button if you're so inclined. We'll catch you later. Legal Vices, a.k.a. The Lorax, out.